Welcome to DaAi Headline. I'm Li Wei-Tai. Thank you for joining us. In our top stories, Maria Elena Aquino Cruz, the sister of the President of the Philippines, pays a special visit to Tzu Chi Shanling DaAi community in Taiwan. In Indonesia, a hearing-impaired girl is able to improve on her speech thanks to the brand new hearing aid from Tzu Chi. And later in our regular series on Taiwan's traditional trades, we meet one paper cutting master who is considered a national treasure for his ability to produce wonders with just paper and scissors. Maria Elena Aquino Cruz, the sister of the Philippines president, recently traveled to Taiwan to learn more about Tzu Chi. Her first stop was the Tzu Chi Shanling DaAi community, where she hoped to gain a better understanding of Tzu Chi's reconstruction efforts after the devastating 8.8 flood of 2009, and also get to know the community's residents.
We built
it in 88 days.
Wow. Building the church in 88 days is a fact that surprised many Philippine dignitaries. In the aftermath of Taiwan's 8.8 flood, Tzu Chi helped in the rebuilding efforts. The NGO has been there every step of the way, from the construction of permanent housing communities to caring for disaster victims.
They make the teacher and here.
Glass trinkets and various woven pieces are the colorful expressions of Taiwan's indigenous people. The workshop provides good vocational training that helps bring stability to the residents' lives.
Wishes of the master, because she's just so good and so kind-hearted and so humble. I don't know what other adjective to give, because seeing the beautiful village just gives everybody more inspiration to work harder for our less fortunate brothers.
We hope that after this visit they will be inspired when they return home. And maybe if the government has land to donate, Tzu Chi can build a DaAi community there.
The Shanling DaAi community is a fine example of when public and private sectors come together, setting a model for post-disaster relief in the future.
In the last of our featured series on the works of Taiwan's Zhishan Foundation for Underprivileged Children in Vietnam, today we meet Yang Gui-mei, a famous Taiwanese actress who was a spokesperson for the foundation in 2006. Recently, Yang Gui-mei traveled to Vietnam's Quang Binh province to meet her sponsored child of 6 years, Dao Thi, who is now a college student. Dao Thi's grandmother passed away 3 years ago, leaving the then 12th grader to fend for herself. And all this time, Yang continued to support Dao Thi like a mother, and their recent reunion was an emotional one. Taiwan's award-winning actress Yang Gui-mei embraces Dao Thi, her sponsored child. The oldest child in a farming family, Yang Gui-mei had to help care for her 4 siblings on top of unending housework. Her tough childhood makes it easy for her to empathize with Dao Thi's circumstances.
I'm the oldest girl in the family. Though I'm a Virgo, I must sometimes act like a Leo and lead the pack. I need to delegate duties, like who does the dishes or the laundry. We were poor and didn't have running water at home. We only had a well like hers and had to fetch water by lowering a bucket.
When Dao Thi's grandmother passed away in her last year of senior high school, she was all alone and lived in solitude. Worried, Yang Gui-mei flew to Vietnam from Taiwan to check on her.
To lose your loved one all of a sudden, I've been through the same kind of heartbreaking separation. It stays with you and it hurts deeply. It leaves a void in your heart.
Deprived of her loved ones, Dao Thi lives by herself, with only the photos of her departed mother and grandma to keep her company. The young woman was ecstatic when she heard of the imminent visit of her Taiwanese sponsor, and even made a cake to welcome her.
For a child who is still developing physically and emotionally, the death of a loved one is a hard blow. She was confronted by solitude, with no one to talk to at home. It pained me to think about her situation when I was so far away in Taiwan.
Doughty finds solace just being with her sponsor, her adoptive mother.
I'm thrilled to see my mom who came all this way to see me. I'm so grateful. It's been long since I could call someone mom. It's nice to know I still have a mom to call my own.
Fetching water from a well and picking homegrown sweet potato leaves for food, Doughty uses firewood to cook to save electricity. Having been forced to be independent, Doughty must fend for herself.
他就这样煮吗？老như thế hả? Hôm nay luộc rau luộc như thế vậy đó. Tuyển chứ là đang煮.
饭也是这样煮啊？
Yang Gui-mei couldn't shake off the image of Doughty's deprivation, so before leaving Vietnam, she bought her sponsored child an electric rice cooker, hoping it will help make life easier for her. Doughty is a top student and majors in business administration at a college. She gets along very well with her classmates.
Doughty is one of the prettiest girls in our class. She has a lot of suitors.
Doughty works part-time at a bakery to make a living and is now fairly self-sufficient. She tells Yang Gui-mei that having her love alone is enough and hopes that her adoptive mother can extend her love and support to other similarly underprivileged children. In Indonesia, we meet hearing-impaired girl Mariati, who, although already 14 years old, is still in second grade because being unable to hear properly made learning extremely difficult for her. Fortunately, Tzu Chi came to her rescue by giving her a hearing aid, and Mariati couldn't have made it in school without her auntie's love, patience, and guidance.
Satu, aku sayang ibu. Dua, aku sayang ayah.
For Mariati, who is severely hearing impaired, being able to pronounce words correctly or sing is the result of much hard work and a hearing aid from Tzu Chi volunteers.
We no longer have to shout for her to hear us. Her hearing has vastly improved. We just call her once and she's able to hear us.
Syllable by syllable, this is how Mariati's aunt, Satyawati, teaches her pronunciation. Wanting more time to properly work with Mariati, Satyawati has the young girl living at home with her.
She's very different from my own children. When I saw her condition, I couldn't stand it. I felt I must teach her so that she can be like my own children.
Under Satyawati's guidance, Mariati is no longer ashamed of going to school and not wanting to let her aunt down. 14-year-old Mariati has worked hard to improve, for previously she was unable to move on to the 3rd grade.
Her Indonesian score isn't bad, around 80 or 90. Her study habits and classroom decorum are also very good.
After school, Mariati will automatically help out with household chores and even cook dinner. To express her gratitude, Mariati slowly but clearly voices her thoughts.
Jadi anak pintar. Kalau selalu sekolah, tulis mau jadi guru. Satunya kan? Satu.
Over to China, Xiamen's second parent-child class of this year recently opened to rave reviews. The first class was such a success, the number of students who enrolled for the second one increased by more than 20%. Many of the parents say the biggest beneficiaries of these classes have actually been themselves.
Today is the first day of Tzu Chi's second parent-child class of the year here in Xiamen, China. In total, 66 parent-child teams have signed up. Among them is the Xiao family, who participated in the first class and has decided to continue with their attendance.
If not for the class, I would still be using anger to teach my daughter. So it is not only the children that have changed, but us adults have also changed and learned a lot. I am very thankful to be here.
The fact that my mom is willing to take me here is wonderful. Thank you, Mom.
For the design of the class, volunteers come up with games to help introduce to the children the happiness that comes from helping others. And parents learn how to better appreciate their child's good points thanks to Tzu Chi teachers sharing.
Listening to the teachers speak of the interaction between parent and child and how to educate our children, I feel that I have learned a lot, especially on how to use a bodhisattva's heart to care for my child.
We need to change our methods and habits and thinking. The key is to make ourselves better first, and then have our children follow in our footsteps. In that way, they will naturally become better people.
Hearing the words of love coming from their children, every parent cannot help but feel moved, or hope that what has been learned here today can be brought home and help strengthen the bonds between parents and child.
Staying on the topic of education, in Singapore, the Tzu Chi Continuing Education Center recently held a graduation ceremony featuring its students' work. Students also put on a series of performances to demonstrate what they have learned.
He wants us on an airplane so we can go traveling.
These beautiful and colorful paintings are all from the hands of parents and children from the art class at Tzu Chi's Continuing Education Center in Singapore.
On the first lesson, my child used a pair of chopsticks and film to draw a picture of the end of the world. I thought, why does he think so negatively? So, through his drawings, I am able to understand him more.
The center has been established for 7 years, and at every graduation ceremony, students get to demonstrate what they have learned. Studying sign language, Wang Shuifa is a carpenter by trade and put his creativity to the test to make props for their performance. The man says he's much inspired by Tzu Chi's songs.
I really like the song Love in the World because in the lyrics it says that when you're at a low point in life, there are still people who care about you.
In recognition of the school's program, nearly 400 family members and friends arrived for the graduation ceremony to show support to the students and Tzu Chi.
Of paper cutting is quite popular in northwestern China, and its origin dates back to the 6th century or even earlier. In Taiwan, there is a paper cutting master, Li Huanzhang, who came to the country in the late 40s. He learned about the art growing up, and whenever he missed his home, he would cut some paper to help reconnect with his past. In time, he would be awarded the title of National Treasure.
你说开始，我来剪。好，开始。好了。
In less than a second, paper cutting master Li Huanzhang creates a star with just one cut. Next, the 87-year-old takes out a piece of red paper, folds it several times, and then cuts with the scissors. In no time, 4 connected Chinese character happiness is done. The old master also has quite a selection of finished works.
People said Wang Zhaojun's beauty felt geese. That's because when geese gazed upon her, they were so mesmerized by her beauty that they forgot to flap their wings and fell.
Master Li also knows the story of each character in his work, for to know each character by heart is a must in order to bring them to life through paper cutting.
When cutting, you must be calm and focused. You have to steal your heart. The folds of the characters' clothes, their facial expression, the accessories on their head, and what they hold in their hands must all be in detail.
Originally from China, Master Li has been living in Taiwan for over 6 decades. Through paper cutting, he has found a way to connect with his past. Surrounded by his work, it is obvious Master Li misses his home.
Back home, when I was still in elementary school, during art classes, I would help some craftswomen trace words or patterns, which they would later use to sew or cut. This helped introduce me to the art of paper cutting. I learned quite a lot. For example, for weddings, the character happiness has to be included. On a child's bib is also a flower.
Every box of finished work is clearly labeled. Some of the works are over several decades old. Still, Master Li continues to practice every day to further himself.
When I cut, my students always ask me, "Master, why can you fold so precisely? Why can you cut so accurately? How come?" I tell them, "You see me do the work flawlessly in front of you, but you don't see my failures at home. Only by failing many times at home can I be here in front of you." This isn't a word from Japan. This isn't a word from NTU.
This folder documents Master Li's life in place of a diary. Inside are many letters of appointment and even more letters of appreciation.
My life's mission is to take everything I've learned and every technique I know and pass them down completely to anyone willing to learn.
Master Li says his eyes are gifts from God, for he is not troubled by nearsightedness or fading vision. Though he is old, Master Li is relatively healthy. He says he will continue to devote himself to propagating the traditional art of paper cutting. After paper cutting master Li Huanzhang came to Taiwan from China some 60 years ago, he first worked as an elementary school teacher. He then started teaching some of his students the traditional art. Now that he has retired, Master Li can dedicate all his time to teaching his lifelong passion of paper cutting. We now take you to a couple of exhibition halls in Taiwan that feature the master's work.
This is the Huanzhang Hall. It was inaugurated back on April 1st, 2007.
At the Taipei Children's Recreation Center is a hall dedicated to the fading art of paper cutting.
The main purpose of the hall is to help our visitors understand the art of paper cutting and perhaps perk their interest in this tradition.
Master Li Huanzhang has some 10 of his works displayed here in the hall named after him. He is especially proud of these 8 immortals crossing the sea.
Every character has a different expression. They each also hold a different tool. Just take a look and you can feel that the ocean waves are really pounding and crashing. You can feel the intensity of the situation.
Look, over here. Paper cutting can be 3-dimensional as well. When this is done, this will be a 3D spring.
Gan Zhenrong was inspired by Master Li to study the art. Now she is the master's spokeswoman.
Whenever Master Li meets someone new, he always generously gives away his work as gifts. You can totally feel his passion and sincerity. Whenever a community college needs him to teach or some exhibition needs to showcase his work, he is there. Master Li has been to so many places.
Besides the exhibition hall in Taipei, the National Center for Traditional Arts in Yilan also showcases some 100 of Master Li's artworks. The masterpiece, along the river during the Qingming Festival, took nearly 3 months to complete.
Most of the time, Master Li just uses a scissors. He first punches out a hole and begins to work continuously without making a mistake. For the more intricate details, where a scissors cannot be used, he will then use a razor.
Every character in the cutting looks alive. It is one of Master Li's best works. However, he cannot teach something this hard in class. In the night school of a community college where Master Li teaches every Thursday, he tries hard to share all he knows with his students. Whenever his students run into trouble, Master Li is always there to help turn what seems like a hopeless piece back into an exemplary work.
We were all just cutting and I made mine like this. But then someone made a mistake and Master Li just made it into another pattern. So we are all just learning from each other.
Zhang Yufen has been studying under Master Li for a decade. The head of the class, Zhang Liyu, also reveres the old master.
When Master Li is teaching, he can stand for over 2 hours. And here is an insider secret. Master Li doesn't take a bathroom break. He just goes on and on. When we leave together after class, he walks faster than us. He is in really good health. We all admire him.
The hard-working Master Li says he will continue to teach as long as there are those willing to learn. Though every one of his pupils' work is unique due to their style, they all have inherited his spirit of paper cutting. Ikanva Youth is a non-profit organization in South Africa that aims to empower underprivileged children through learning. Last year, Johannesburg Tzu Chi volunteers and Ikanva Youth began to work together to help students from low-income families. And recently, Ikanva Youth held its first tutoring event in Ivory Park, where Tzu Chi also handed out food to the students.
Today, Ikanva Youth has come to Ivory Park in Johannesburg to give 250 high school students their first tutoring class. A Tzu Chi volunteer climbs onto the roof and introduces the students to Tzu Chi.
We are originally from Taiwan, and we are the global organization.
In a collaboration that began last year, Ikanva Youth and Tzu Chi provide teachers and food respectively to help students to go to college and break free from poverty.
When you take the fruits and the apples, please do remember to say thank you, not just to us, but to those who are actually here to support you.
To reciprocate, 2 students volunteer to distribute the apples and learn Tzu Chi's way of using 2 hands to respectfully distribute food. At the tea gathering in the afternoon, students willingly stay to get to know the charity that helped them. Local Tzu Chi volunteer Kabo Semenya shares his story with others, letting them know that they too can do more.
At the end of the show, we go back to Taiwan, where nearly 1,000 DaAi mothers in Taipei have come together for a seminar to share with each other their teaching experiences at schools. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.